Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of the Nerd Haven podcast, where we're going to be, right now we're doing the MCU talk, right? But eventually we're going to be diving into all things nerdy, whether it's technology, AI, video games, more movies, more shows. And and yeah, that's kind of the hope of the podcast, to just be able to chill and talk. So if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. My name is M9, and with me I have John Aaron. John Aaron, how are you?
Hello, hello. And may I just say that one of my favorite things about these podcasts so far has been whenever you announce that we are about to start the podcast, there is always like 5 to 10 seconds of a very dramatic, quiet pause, and I always kind of
There's
think of ways to either ruin it, but I don't want to. I don't want to be a dick. But it's always like so exciting whenever you put on the podcaster voice and start everything properly. It's awesome.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
So
like,
professional.
you ready to go? It's like 5 second cool down. Let's go. Uh,
We got this anxiety. Just calm down, okay? Let me take the wheel.
big breath. Oh man, it's almost like we're introverts.
Oh, come on. You're not an introvert, right?
No, not really. Um,
It's
okay,
my job.
yeah, okay. I think you're one of those people that are like, you would rather not deal with people, but you're pretty good with people.
It's one of the greatest, what should we call it? Like tautology, or just like a very strange aspect of my life. Like, I don't mind dealing with people, I like people. But whenever you introduce more than 1, 2, or 3 people at the same like location or scene, I immediately turn into my introvert shell and I just have nothing to say. I'm just there kind of standing or sitting and not even knowing what to do with my hands, but like it's like the freaking badminton tournament today. Okay, I was freaking a rock star, like on the field, just kind of chatting with people. But once we kind of ended everything and decided to go for food, I was just standing there looking at my like protein shot while everyone else ordered like proper food because there was nothing on the menu that I ate, and I just felt like an idiot. And everything went downhill after that.
Oh boy. See, me on the contrary, I'm pretty adaptable when it comes to people and people's personality. I can get along very easily with people, but I am obsessed with being alone. I don't, it's such a weird thing. I like my alone time. But today we are here. We're not alone, in fact. We're going to be talking about Iron Man 2. You said you did a quick
Yes, indeed.
rewatch. You're fresh in your mind. I haven't watched this movie in a while, so you're gonna have to help me out. But I kind of remember what I need to remember, and and let's just get into it.
All right.
So, do you like this movie? Yes or no?
To answer, I will have to think of the Iron Man series as a whole because I
Hmm.
like the series. I like how it progressively humanizes Tony Stark more and more with every episode, of the trilogy. The first one I hated the most. I didn't. I didn't hate it, but I liked it the least because it introduced Tony Stark as this basic Elon Musk, just a
Hmm.
millionaire playboy, just a completely objectionable prick who is just a danger to society, to himself, to everyone he cares about. He has stupid ideas, but he's kind of a cool guy. He of course is very inventive, and eventually he kind of you could even say that he has like a right mindset on certain things, and this movie kind of progresses that, but it still retains a certain degree of making him come across as a objectionable prick. But it also justifies it because he's essentially on a borrowed time. He is dying, and he's kind of doing rash decisions, like appoint. The most rashest decision of them all is, of course, appointing Pepper, the CEO, because she's woefully underprepared, underqualified, and it's just a horrible decision. And the news anchor that is just shitting all over her while she's having a phone call, and Tony Stark arrives with a basket of fresh strawberries is probably my favorite scene of the movie.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that this movie, individualized for me, I do have to say I like it less than the first one, but only in the sense that I don't feel it's as fun or as fresh as the first one felt. But it's because the first one was its own thing when it first came out. Now this is how do you expand upon that, and how do you push forward without making it too repetitive, or the thing about Tony is that he is always moving forward, whether that is in with his technology or with his suit or with his ideals. Is what How does he get to be bigger and better? And for me, while this movie doesn't actually achieve the bigger and better part for me, I do understand where it lies as far as the development of Tony Stark. And it also has some of the coolest freaking suit ups. Yeah, I love that type of stuff. And I'll actually refer to this movie later on when we uh get further into the MCU and start talking about some of the other like nanotech and stuff like that. But um the I love how this humanizes him further. I love how there is a sense of desperation, and in a sense that it's like, imagine being a genius and being able to come up with answers and then not having an answer. Like, it must be so frustrating. And I think that that's kind of where it puts him in. And then there's also the introduction of Natasha Romanoff, which
Definitely.
worth it.
And before we get to her, I would also like to say I definitely agree that this is not a fun movie, or at least it's not supposed to be.
No.
This is definitely more on the serious side. But there are still moments of fun.
Mhm.
Like, the best beef of this movie isn't between Tony Stark and Mickey Rourke. It's between him and the freaking senator. I love,
Yes.
the few exchanges that they have together. And, of course, the final scene where he forces him to, avoid him. It's... I laughed out loud, and I didn't expect to, because usually the humor in Iron Man is kind of miss for me, but this movie I do like less jokes that are more rewarding. I like the nukes in terms of jokes. I don't like small bombs exploding all over the place. I don't like when these superhero movies turn into comedies or parodies of themselves. But I do like when in a few serious moments you can find moments where you can just joke or make something hilarious that makes those jokes stand out much more to me.
That's kind of awesome that you say that, because I'm pretty sure we'll have to talk more about that sense of belief later on, and
Yes,
in
the
other movies.
enshittification of MCU, as I like to call it.
Yeah. Because I think that is a problem that some of these movies have, but we're not going to talk about the other movies. I agree that I think Marvel is strongest when the humor is just kind of sprinkled in, but it fits the story. I don't like when almost all of your characters are making jokes, um or like you're just getting hit with jokes left and right. I think the movie loses a lot of heart when that happens. And I don't think that it happens in this one a whole lot. But yeah, I think it does become an issue sometimes.
Indeed, and it is one of the reasons why I actually appreciate this movie, for it. I don't want to jump into the future too much, but there will definitely be situations where I will very much go against my own approach in this regard, where I will be so taken back by the hilarious jokes and comedy and amazing characters that are just straight up there for fun, that I will actually pretty much rescind this notion that I am currently adhering towards. Because right now I'm at the position, if I look at myself when I was starting this MCU journey, I was actually afraid that most of these movies will be just freaking comedies, jokes, and just as I called before, what is the Michael Bay franchise with robots?
Transformers.
Transformers, yeah, that's what I expected. I expected these to be just Transformers, flashy action scenes, stupid jokes, and occasional like hot babes, just kind of being there for no reason. But I do like it when these movies get these darker themes and topics where you can actually think about, like what would you do in real life if there was someone with an Iron Man suit and promised the world peace? Would you trust someone with this much power, or would you rather hand it over to the American government, knowing full well that they absolutely cannot be trusted with this power? It's like Donald Trump, not to get too political, but like this is what happens when one person has too much power and he can do essentially whatever he wants. He can literally insider trading, tell people to like, hey, right now I completely destroyed the economy. Time to start buying stocks, but I'm gonna revert it, because I let you know on True Social that you can sell again. It's just ridiculous. It's like crime became freaking legal.
Yeah, and I think that's where some of these more grounded movies like shine their best. And like Iron Man specifically, when you really think about it, right? They Even though it is kind of still a fantastical type of concept, it does feel grounded in a sense that you can kind of believe it. It's almost like Batman, right? Like you could believe a rich person would put in a bunch of money into gadgets and, and go be a vigilante. It's not that outside of the scope of believability. And
Yes, you can easily suspend to disbelief. And
mhm,
even though it is kind of ridiculous that only these two people can make these powerful energy sources, even though they kind of make them in their basements, just kind of from nothing, obviously this would be easily replicable by all the scientists in the world and everyone would be able to make like
right.
freaking Iron Man suits. But like you do believe that in this universe, Tony Stark is the one with the know-how and his father, and those who worked under him would be able to partially replicate or do something similar, like Mickey Rourke and his father.
Yeah, and then that kind of introduces that threat, right? Which is it when a story keeps you grounded and keeps it believable, then you believe the threat. You believe that then that could also happen. So that kind of thing is sometimes works a lot better than the world domination threat. Um, and it's actually one of the things that I like. I don't love Mickey Rourke's character fully in this movie, or the way that it paid off as a whole, but I do like the concept and I do like the implementation of it.
They absolutely could have done more with him. I had the exact same criticism. He kind of came across as like this dumb piece of muscle, that has like vendetta against Tony for
Mhm.
very little reason, and it wasn't enough. He could have been the main bad guy if he was a bit smarter, more charismatic, but it wasn't really. I don't know. He's a fine actor. I do like
Yeah.
him, but I don't think they wrote him well. And of course, they needed to include, his as always, in every Iron Man movie, Tony Stark is the reason for all his bad guys in these movies. And once again, he essentially created this villain for this movie. And he, of course, was the one who eventually had to solve it.
Yeah. Yeah. And and I agree. I feel like it could have, if he would have taken a step back and if he would have taken things a bit slower and a bit smarter, he could have been a way bigger threat than he actually ended up being. Because I feel like he kind of bit off more than he could chew very
Yeah, who the
quickly.
fuck goes to a racetrack with laser whips and like starts whipping freaking race cars? That's not an efficient way to like avenge injustice against your father.
Not at all. Not at all. So with somebody that's already been established as Iron Man, and it's not like he just started yesterday. That he doesn't know what he's doing. So it's like, what were you thinking? But other than that, let's talk about a War Machine. There's the
No,
recast.
Scarlett Johansson. You already mentioned her.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson in the MCU is I love her so much. I do think that sometimes she goes underused, but I feel like she is one of the uh what is it? I'm gonna say the co-creators of like the Avengers. She was there in the beginning, and is there through the end, right? But like the her character is so dynamic that it just makes her fun to watch on screen. I think some of her fight scenes and stuff in the beginning were a little rough, but I feel like it's something that they kind of growing pains, like they got better as they went. But how do you feel about how she was introduced as a character and about how she did in this movie?
I agree. The initial fight scenes of her were a bit rough. I don't want to judge her too much, but it's more about the cinematography. Like, I don't expect these actors to be MMA fighters, and to just do their own stunts. It's ridiculous, Even f- absolutely badass actors who are like freaking juiced up to the gills still have, their dumbbells who do their stunts for them. Like Jason Momoa, he doesn't do his own stunts. He could easily do
Hmm.
that, but it's just not worth it. They probably wouldn't even let him, for like the insurance purposes. But I feel like this movie could have cut like a few of those shots a bit better, because you can clearly see anytime she's about to do anything physical, suddenly the back of her head, or just you see like a completely different person in her suit just doing the punches, and it was a bit jarring. But I blame the movie. I don't blame her for it.
Right.
What I want to know though, like, how is she embraced as a character, and as her portrayal of the character in the overall like MCU universe? Were the fans happy like with her performance?
I think
What
people
was the reception?
always liked ScarJo as Black Widow. I don't think anybody ever mind. I mean, she's beautiful. She can kick ass, but I think a lot of people, including myself, had a problem with how much Black Widow content we got. You know,
I see.
like I think a lot of us actually felt she wasn't given her fair share. That she gets her movie way down the line, which we will talk, but that movie, in my opinion, came way too late. Way too late. I
I would
think,
have to agree with that. Now that I saw it, I think it would do her justice if it was released sooner.
yeah, I would say like pre-Avengers or maybe post-Avengers, phase one or phase two. But I think that by them waiting all the way to what was it, phase four, that movie came out, or phase five, and just complete disservice to the character and to Scarlett Johansson herself. But as a character, I think she's always done great, but where she shines the most is with her relationship with other characters, because Black Widow's she does seem like a support character for the most part, but those support roles that she has with everyone just kind of make them even better. Her relationship with Captain America, her relationship with Clint, her relationship with Bruce Banner. I think it all shines for not just like for her as a character, but she makes those characters better.
Yeah, for someone who's supposed to be like a straight up loner who deals with everything solo, she works really well with everyone else as a support.
Hmm.
Which is yeah, a bit strange, but I definitely agree with that. I don't want to judge her too much. Initially, when I watched this movie, I didn't really like her character. She felt a bit wooden to me, like kind of robotic. But then, like, the more I learned about her character, it makes sense. She is supposed to be that way. She's not supposed to be like the most expressive face that smiles or makes jokes or
Right.
doesn't use monotone voice. I do kind of understand the vision behind that character, and she did it well. And of course, as we will see in future movies, she will grow on me, and I will appreciate her a bit more. But I couldn't say she's like my favorite of the MCU universe, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's hard for anybody to say that just because it I feel like she didn't get the attention that others did. Like you can't grow to like her as much as Tony, because look how much like the whole story is centered around Tony, or or Steve Rogers. It's
Yeah, they're the golden children of the MC universe.
yeah,
She's kind of like an off-brand, unwanted bastard child
which kind
who
of
turns out to
sucks.
be extremely important for the whole franchise.
Agreed. Agreed. It kind of sucks. I think that the Black Widow movie coming a lot earlier could have done her like very well, but it is what it is. So
Definitely. But they introduced her really well, and she worked extremely well, like in this setting. I think they chose the right movie to bring her into the scene.
yeah, I think so too. And so let's get into. I asked about War Machine. So in this
Yeah.
movie, Terrence Howard is replaced by Don Cheadle, and Don Cheadle then moves forward as a War Machine in the MCU. So how did you feel with that change? I mean, we weren't around. We didn't have Terrence Howard for that long, or he wasn't that important anyway. But how did you think that that worked?
He's kind of just like a boring, just a good guy, just like a white knight in a silver Iron Man suit who is there to kind of moralize and patronize Tony. And it does make sense, that he would have someone like that. It's one of those necessary devices for Tony Stark. Otherwise, he would just implode on itself. He's too much of a wild card and he needs people like that. So, in a similar way, he's just like Pepper. He's just
Hmm.
there because he needs to be. He's a device. I don't really see him as like an engaging character.
Yeah. I agree, and I like. Well, I think we talked about this in the first Iron Man as well. As I like Tony having opposition, and I think that with Pepper and with War Machine, they're that. They act as that, and I think they do well enough. Other than that, I don't really think he really stands out that much in this movie either.
Indeed, indeed.
So we talked about the villain and stuff like that, but how did you feel about the story overall? You say that you like this movie significantly better than the first one. Is it mainly because of the tone and the theme, or what else could you say that it did better? Is it story, visuals? What what do you think that you liked more?
I like the stakes. The stakes feel
Okay.
higher to me
Hmm.
because Tony is essentially about to die. He is kind of getting there. And I think they should have introduced the potential remedy or that there is a way to kind of save him perhaps a bit later. I wanted to see more of him kind of dealing with his mortality because in the first movie, he kind of seems like just an immortal guy until, he gets his little device ripped out of his chest. But still, he's a bit too careless. In this one, he does actually feel like he's thinking about death, and what to do. And I presume that is the reason, why he decided to like race in a
Hmm.
fucking, well, in the race itself, because he thought may have been my last chance, to do something fun. And that's why he gave, Pepper the CEO role because he didn't really see himself as being capable of doing so in the future. And yeah, and then of course, Nick Fury shows up and gives him like this hope that there is perhaps something that his father, another element to discover, and yeah.
Yeah. I think that that's an important point to take from this one is the stakes are different. Um, what are some of your biggest dislikes in this one?
Oh, here we go. Fucking Pepper. She cares more about art than Boy Scouts. I couldn't believe what I heard. Just, my God, the this is not really a dislike, but it was like a nice reference because I like how whenever they were showing like the North Koreans, creating the Iron Man suits, they essentially developed like the RoboCop shitty model from the old movie, that was just like like walking around shooting at itself. That was kind of hilarious when Tony like hacked the TV and showed them the actual like results of these people trying to copy his technology. So I did really enjoy that. But just my biggest criticism is probably just Pepper. I really didn't like her. I didn't like Tony Stark when he threw all those strawberries into the basket, into the bin, because they were just fine, innocent strawberries. And I don't like when strawberries are being treated that way. Just small things like
But
that,
she was
But
allergic.
I know. I was hoping she would eat one of those and just
Oh
get
my
her
goodness.
ass out of the movie. But we can have everything what we want, so I totally get that. But it's just the Stark's terrible hiring policies, it's just like weird, scraping the bottom of the barrel if you hire a secretary to be your CEO. I feel like there were more suitable choices for that role. Even the freaking driver, would have probably done better.
Yeah. I uh I agree, but I mean I don't have a problem with Pepper as a whole. And she does grow on me more with time, but I'm not hoping that she eats a strawberry and grows. That's not that's
No,
not
no,
what I
of
want.
course. She's not bad. She's supposed to be there. She's doing well and all. But just her character doesn't really sit with me. But do you know what does sit well with me? Is the fact that these MCU movies are not afraid to go around the world. And of course, now
Mhm.
that I've seen a lot of them, you get freaking movies that showcase you like Eastern Europe, that show you like, South America. It's not just all based in the United States, and I appreciate it. One of the
Mhm.
movies that I recently watched was in freaking Prague.
Yeah.
A lot of it was in Prague.
Yeah, it's all over the damn place, and which I think is nice. The idea that, I mean, why would everything just conveniently happen in the US, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It gives you the sense of global scale. It's
mhm,
not just what happens in America, it's what happens all around the world. And even though these movies are yet to unleash the full scale invasions of aliens that will land all over the planet, I definitely prefer like these smaller threats and bad guys or the initial beefs from the past that kind of start haunting you. I am enjoying, these more grounded stories that are presented to us.
yeah, I agree. I tend to like the more grounded ones as well, especially because the ones that lean towards the world or global scale usually have like an off device. Like, and what I mean by that is like, oh, all of these freaking aliens are gonna destroy everything, but if we kill the one thing, they all die. And
Yeah,
it's one of my most hated tropes used in movies, not just superhero movies, but like in movies, is that you destroy the spaceship, or you kill the one thing, or you shut down the one thing, and then they all kind of turn off or die. It's like, ugh. But um it's also the sense of getting closer to some characters, right? When it's more grounded and when it's more intimate, you get to experience a bit more with characters instead of spending more time with like what is happening in the world.
indeed, indeed. And speaking of things that are currently happening in the world and the things that I disliked about this movie the most, I left my biggest gripe with this movie to the very last moment. And of course, there was stupid ass Elon Musk ruining this movie with his stupid ass freaking fat goblin face for no reason, just being there, as freaking Elon Musk. Hated it, hated everything about it. I know that back then, he was considered someone very different. And sure, it's very fair to put him into the movie. He probably paid like millions for it. It's like, whatever. Just I wish they could just erase him from existence, not just from this movie.
Yeah, seeing that scene now, it's like, oh my god. It's like it's kind of like seeing Trump in Home
Embarrassing.
Alone, you know?
Oh my god.
but but it's
My
like
childhood is ruined.
it's like it's such a weird thing, but I also love that Tony just kind of dismisses him, you know?
Yeah. That was nice. That was indeed nice.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, there isn't really a whole lot to talk about this one. This movie, to me, I do remember that I was kind of unimpressed by it when I watched it at first. Um,
I can see that. The story isn't exactly substantial. It's pretty simple, when you think about it.
yeah, but I think we've also discussed the fact that Tony's movies, when seen as a like as a whole story arc, then that that makes them different. Uh,
Yeah, that's when it clicks and starts making more sense
because
as a
I mean,
whole.
we'll talk about Iron Man 3 as well later on, but um, there I don't find individual Iron Man movies to be as strong as, for example, like the Captain America movies.
Oh,
And
definitely.
but yeah, the it's still watchable. I think that the further that you get into the MCU, kind of like what we talked about with the Incredible Hulk, was that you lose a little bit of respect of that movie because it does feel disconnected from the rest of the MCU. The Iron Man movies For me, it's the opposite. You gain a bit more respect for them when you see all of Tony's, trajectory.
I could see that. It doesn't exactly apply to me, but what does apply to me is I did actually. The more MCU movies I watch, the at certain point I actually put Doctor Strange over the Hulk, in my rankings.
Yeah.
Even though right now I'm still at the moment, where I have the Hulk above Doctor Strange or slightly. But like the more MCU movies I watch, the more I start appreciating, the other movies and started feeling a bit less respect towards others.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Well, since we've, I think, pretty much covered the movie, let's talk about rankings here. But instead of just going through rankings, I want to talk about how difficult it gets to rank movies when there's 20 something of them. I was just the other day going through my MCU rankings, and even though I wanted to do just the ones that we've talked about and then just kind of go in order, I was like, well, I might as well just like redo my entire list and have that ready. But as I'm going through it, I'm like, how is it possible to rank so many movies and feel like you're being just, you know? Like,
I don't think there is a way to be just to do it in the terms of justice. I think that what you have to develop is a certain criteria that contribute towards your enjoyment of those movies.
right,
To me, a big factor that contributes to it is how much of the movie I skipped, or how I was able to focus on, for example, work when I was doing on the background, instead of just like, oh my god, I cannot even do anything. I must put this on my main screen and actually continue watching it.
yeah.
Or this movie really surprised me. I thought I would hate this. This movie I am supposed to hate. It has all the things I hate. How come this is now my favorite movie of the entire MCU universe? Coming soon.
As long as it's not, you know what, we'll get there. I'm so stressed out to find out what that movie is, but I completely agree, right? Like you have to find a scale for yourself, and what the most important for me is rewatchability, because I do like to sometimes put movies on in the background, or like while I'm working, just have something in the background. Like I think I watched Deadpool and Wolverine like 6 times or something like that. Uh, and not because it's a like Oscar winning screenplay or whatever, but because it is entertaining, and I can have it on in the background. I like the music, I like the action, I can look over and just laugh at some things. It's like rewatchability and fun. It's a big thing for me. For example, some of the ones that we'll talk about later on, I can kind of refer to as great films. Like I love this movie as a movie. I love the story. I love what happened. I love the characters, but it's not higher on my list because I'm not willing to watch that as many times. It's it's harder to watch. It's more serious, and and that's pretty much it for me.
I think that's very fair. And I also have more of these criteria than just, how much of it I skipped. I definitely focus on what you said, To me, it's mostly about like whenever I finish the movie, how soon do I want to watch it again? Like, do I immediately want to
Mhm.
put it on again because I enjoyed it so much and I'm afraid that I have actually missed something? And upon the second rewatch, it's actually even better. That is definitely a big factor for me. The other big factor is soundtrack. Soundtrack plays a huge role for me, more than
Yeah.
visuals, because it really sets the tone of the movie. It puts me in the right mood. It makes me feel things. And whenever there's like an epic moment or a sad moment, or whenever there is no soundtrack playing, certain movies in this MC universe actually did so well by not playing any songs in the background and actually let the scene speaks for itself. And that I actually consider a good soundtrack, of the movie, because
Right.
the visual and auditory sensation I get from this movie is equally important or the auditor even more. I don't know why. I just like to hear things. And one of my biggest gripes is how big are my blue balls that this movie just developed all over my body, because certain movies like to tease certain things between certain characters, and I don't appreciate that. I don't mind when it teases, but I want my damn payoff. I'm a shipper, and whenever I see two characters that I want to just hold hands and smoosh faces together, I want it to happen. I want to see it. And when they just we'll get to that. But yes, there are certain things that bother me about these movies, and certain things that bother me extremely about these movies, and those contribute towards my rankings too.
Yeah. I get that. So, with that said, what is your current ranking of the MCU movies, sir?
Hulk on the first place, of course. Doctor Strange on the second. Iron Man 2 on the third, and Iron Man 1 on the first. This will become a bit of a meme, because I tend to enjoy the second movies in these trilogies or duologies more than the first ones. I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yes.
Okay, so for me right now it would be Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Iron Man 2, then Hulk.
Okay, that's fair.
And which is almost the opposite. It would be the opposite if you didn't have Doctor Strange here right now. But
I'm sorry.
yeah, Doctor Strange. So here's the thing. I also thought about how it would be easier to rank, right? And it would almost be easier if we decided, okay, well, these are what I consider A movies. These are what I consider B movies. These are what I consider C movies. Because then you don't really have to put like one over the other. Because for like Doctor Strange, I feel like it's on par with several other movies in the MCU. And it's hard to essentially put one over the other sometimes, because like mood has a lot to do with it sometimes. One day I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that one more. Then the other one's like, not really. So it's like,
At first, this was easy for me. Like, I could easily put like certain movies above each other, but you kind of end up liking certain characters, and you want to put their movies like too
it
low, and
happens, yeah.
yeah, so you kind of feel like you're betraying them, you know?
Yeah, for sure. It happens where like you movies move up and down based on the characters or kind of like the overall story.
Yeah,
But
that's why I also, by the end of my watch along, I will also develop like a list of my favorite characters from all these movies.
yeah, I think that's kind of cool. I don't think that's something I've ever tried, but we can definitely do that together and see how it goes. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for Iron Man 2. Do you have anything else in your notes that you want to bring up or comment on?
Once again, the MCU factor, or the MCU recipe of introducing or teasing another movie worked really well in this one. And of course, our next one on the list is Thor, and I really like how they how they teased at the end of this movie. You know, of course, what's gonna happen, because I watched Thor before this one.
Hmm.
I didn't actually even know that it was the part of the MCU universe. You know, I was just like, "Hey, Thor, that sounds like a cool movie." You know, so I kind of put it on, but I skipped most of it. And there were certain things that I liked, but whenever I watched it, knowing, you know, where it belongs in the MCU universe, and I definitely appreciate it a bit more. So yeah, I am looking forward to talking about this one next.
Yeah, so Thor will be our next episode, guys, and we'll probably do that pretty soon here. We're going to try to get through as many of these as possible pretty quickly now that I am recovering. Not a recovering addict. I'm recovering from bronchitis.
Yeah, I am the recovering addict from watching like 3 MCU movies a day.
John, can I just tell you about how happy this makes me though? Like, not because I was right, but also because I was. Um, the fact that I never, in the whole time I've known you, never did I think I would hear you say that you couldn't wait to watch another MCU movie, or that, or that you were taking a break and that break lasted 24 hours. It's like, what? Sometimes I'm like, who are you and what did you do with John Aaron? But other
I'm a walking
times,
contradiction,
yeah,
and
aren't
this is
we
just
all?
what I do.
Yeah. But I'm so glad that you're giving these movies a chance, that you've been through the journey, and that we're able to talk about them, because I think the after talk sometimes is better than the movie themselves. So
Indeed, and I am Iron Man. See, I can make those
nice.
references now. I know what I mean.
Nice.
And I can't thank you enough, because I genuinely felt like a dum-dum whenever I was watching, these MCU, playing these MCU games, or hearing you guys talk, about your favorite MCU characters, and I was just struggling. I didn't know what the hell was going on, and I never thought I would enjoy this, but it took someone like you to inspire me to freaking watch them, and I knew that there must have been more to it, than I initially thought, beyond, the cringy, colorful, bombastic scenes and weird-ass superhero outfits, and I even hated the fact that all these like well-renowned actors, are in them. I just felt like, ugh, I know all these people. It's just too much, but
Yeah, like they're
my
just
goodness,
doing it for
they
a
just
paycheck.
yeah, they all of them deliver. Like I have
Mhm.
yet to find like a shitty well-known actor that didn't do a good job in these movies. They have done so well.
Yeah, the casting on these movies are just on point. Uh, when you look at a certain character, whether that is, and we're going to be talking about some in the next movie in Thor, where you look at some of these characters and it's like, I don't know who else could play this character. Then that casting director just nailed it.
See, when Thor is the only movie where I can actually see someone else playing him. Charlie Hunnam, the one from Sons of Anarchy,
So
the
I was
main
actually
guy, the
talking more
blonde.
about Loki. Um,
Yeah, Loki. Yeah,
but
definitely Loki
yeah, like
from
Tom
Hiddleston, right?
Hiddleston is just like perfection as Loki. And true
Okay.
story, he actually auditioned for Thor. but
Oh, interesting.
yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, Hemsworth is amazing as Thor. He's just born for that role.
Yeah. But guys, thank you all for hanging out. Thank you for just, listening to us shoot the shit and talk about the MCU. John, thank you. We didn't really argue that much about this one, but man, if you've teased anything, is that I know we're going to disagree on we're going to disagree on some coming up, and I cannot wait.
Definitely. And I'm looking forward to. We have some heavy hitters in front of us. Like
Mhm.
at this point, this felt like a warm up, right? These movies are, yeah, they're good, but like the true juggernauts of MC Universe are about to grace us with their presence soon.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of why I want to just get through these as possible, because I also really want to get to the shitty ones that I don't like, and
Oh,
have
come on. There are no shitty movies, right? Only shitty viewers.
yeah, sure, sure. I yeah, we'll see. We'll get to those, and like we said before, there's going to be episodes on each movie. So yeah, we'll have those discussions. You'll be able to cherry pick and see which ones you want to join us on. But I would recommend just listening to us all times, because we're awesome people. Interpret John's silence.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. Sure.
Sure. But John, thanks for hanging out. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you all next time on the next episode, which will be Thor. Peace.
Another.
Nice.